Coins in a Fountain is the opening track, and I think it's a bit more ambiguous than most of the songs. You know, most of the songs are very direct and have a very specific story. I think Coins in a Fountain talks about all sorts of things, about hope and love and fear and big ideas, you know, and there's a lot of imagery. I think it's a nice opener. I think it sets the tone for the record. It's quite an interesting production. There's a lot going on. There's lots of percussive elements and glockenspiels and, you know, xylophones, stuff. And it's a warm, sort of soft opening to the record. And I really like it. I think it's an important track. 27 is a song that I wrote unbelievably when I was 27 years old. And it was at a time when I was just really fed up. I'd been busking for 3 or 4 years, and although it was getting a bit bigger, you know, every time I go back to a town, there'd be another 10 people at the gigs and whatever. But I just got to this stage where I felt like it was never ever going to get any bigger than the basement of a pub. And I'm sure a lot of musicians get to that stage and feel like that. And it's frustrating, it's hard because you give everything to it, and it's still not working. So 27 was kind of definitely a frustrated song. But that's why writing music is so wonderful. You can get all of these emotions and frustrations out into something really productive, like a song. So I'm really proud of that song. I hope that it helps others in that situation feel like it's possible. Hearts on Fire is one of the oldest songs on the record. I wrote it probably 2 or 3 years ago, actually. And it's a love song, you know, it's a nostalgic love song. I guess it's about being with the right person at the wrong time. I think in relationships, so much of it is about timing. And if it's the wrong timing, then it's a bit of a non-starter. So it's a simple song, and it's one of my favourites on the record. It's sometimes simple as best, you know. Bullets has a really specific story behind it. Basically, I met this guy several years ago, a friend of mine's dad, and we ended up staying with him for a night. And he'd been collecting bullets since he was a kid, since he was 8 or 9 years old. Over the years, he collected this vast collection of bullets and built all these lovely cabinets to house them in. And it was kind of like this little bullet museum in his spare room. But a few years ago, he had his house broken into, and the thieves took, you know, TVs and computers and whatever else, and they must have stumbled across these bullets, thought they'd be worth something, ended up smashing the whole lot and stealing most of the bullets. What he was saying, which was the saddest thing about it, was that the bullets would be totally worthless, and he reckons they probably ended up just throwing them away. Just the thought of someone losing something so valuable for absolutely no reason pissed me off and upset me, and I ended up writing Bullets, I think the next day, whilst we were still at his place. And it's amazing when a real life story fits into a song, you know. And there's a couple on this record that are similar, you know. They're about people that I've met along the way, and it's great to be able to tell somebody's story through music. Golden Leaves is a sad song. It's about a couple getting older together. You know, I don't know if anybody else notices this, but when you go to a restaurant and there's a couple that have obviously been together for years and years, and they kind of have run out of things to say. I guess it's hard to keep a conversation going for 40 years, and you just kind of often just sit in silence and have dinner. And I guess it's that sort of inner monologue, an imagined inner monologue of what might be going on in their head. It's probably much sadder and more dramatic than is actually going on. But yeah, I like it. I like the fact that it's just guitar, vocal, and a string quartet. You know, I think it's really direct and really emotional. Thunder is it's a funny song, Thunder. I was unsure whether to put it on to the album or not, because it doesn't have as much weight to the other songs as the other songs. It's a bit of fun. It's silly. I'm not really sure what it's about. Like, I wrote it and these lyrics just kind of flew out of my mouth. And all you need to know is it talks about baby turtles, the chorus. So we're sort of hoping that if they ever make Finding Nemo 2, they're going to ask us to use Thunder. Baby turtles is perfect. Rolling Stone is about a conversation I had with somebody a little while ago. My life's pretty crazy. I'm travelling all the time. And it's difficult to uphold relationships, you know. It's a wonderful life. You get to see the world, you get to play your music to people who sing the words back to you. I couldn't ask for anything more, but it does have downsides, you know. You miss your mates' weddings and christenings and birthdays, and you miss people all the time. You miss your family and your friends and stuff. And yeah, so Rolling Stone is really just written about one of those times where I was feeling really lonely. Start a Fire is a pretty interesting song. It's like nothing else I've written, really. It's pretty epic. It kind of sounds like it could belong in an old western, and it follows this guy's life. You know, in the beginning it's talking about him being a baby and being born. And as the song progresses, he turns into a man and then gets older and eventually dies. Wouldn't be Passenger if there wasn't death involved. But it also sort of coincides with the seasons turning as well, and I kind of like the link between those two things. Whispers is the title track of the album, and I think I didn't realise it at the time, but I wrote it just after things got crazy last year with Let Her Go. And for a few months it was really difficult to deal with. You know, I've been playing music for 10 plus years, you know, to crowds of 50 or 100 people, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, one of my songs did so well, which was so exciting, so wonderful for so many reasons, but it was also really disconcerting. Everything started to change around me, you know, people reacted to it in different ways, and all of a sudden I just didn't have a minute to myself. You know, it was interviews and promo and TV and radio and all of this stuff that was very foreign to me up until that point. And I think I was just freaking out a bit and really craving just some time on my own to let it all sink in and kind of reflect on the madness. And I just knew I wasn't going to get that time for another 8 or 9 months. And I think when I wrote Whispers, that was kind of what was going on. And I think they're some of the best lyrics of the record, you know, towards the end, where it's really simple. Everyone's filling me up with noise, and I don't know what they're talking about. And it's just that feeling of being trapped and not being able to escape. Riding to New York is, again, it's like Bullets. It's based on a true story, and it's about a guy that I met at 3 a.m. outside a gas station in Minneapolis. I was going to buy cigarettes, and he was sat there smoking one, and we got chatting, and it turns out he was dying of lung cancer and was riding across the United States to New York to live out the rest of his days with his family and his grandkids. And it kind of put it all into perspective, you know, buying these ridiculous things and smoking them, and having this guy talking so honestly and so sadly about, you know, his situation. And so yeah, I didn't buy cigarettes that night, and I wrote that song over the next couple of days. And I'm really proud of it. It's one of the most truthful songs I've ever written, and I'm really happy with the production on it as well. It's quite different to the rest of the record. It's got this sort of 808 drum beat thing going on, and some sort of ambient electric guitar, which is something we haven't really done before. So yeah, I'm really glad with how it turned out. Scare Away the Dark. It's a bit of a rant, really. I guess it started with the idea of how technology is taking over the world and our lives. And you know, I especially notice it because when I'm playing a gig, you just constantly see oceans of mobile phones staring at you. And you know, back in the day, you didn't have that. You'd have faces, you'd have human faces and reactions and eyes, and I don't know. It takes some getting used to. And it started with that, and then it's a social comment really on where society is at and the way we kind of rush through our lives. I don't know, waiting for something that probably won't ever happen. And we kind of, I don't know, trying so desperately to capture everything with our mobile phones that we miss what's really going on. So all good stuff. But yeah, and I'm definitely not judging anyone. Like, I'm just as bad on Facebook and Angry Birds and everything else as everybody else is. But it's just, I guess it's a little reminder to go camping every now and again.